You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Welcome to another episode of the Battered MLS Fans. I am your host, Chris Duran. And guys, for those of you that are sticking live with me since the last episode, this is episode number 5 of the MLS previews that we have going on. Of course, it's right here. We're covering 30 teams. We got 30 guests on over 6 shows and 4 nights. This is night number 3 that we're going to be covering some good old MLS, and everybody's excited for the start of the season. It's coming, and it's coming fast, and I can't wait to go through this. We're going through the West Side now, and we're going through the elite that's on the West Side. So it's going to be some interesting conversation for sure. Chime in whenever you guys get the opportunity to do so, and thank you guys again so much for hanging out live. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with Minnesota, and I'm going to bring on my boy Connor. Connor, what's going on, my friend? How's everything going?
Things are going good, man. Thanks for having me on again. It's always great to talk to the battered MLS fans.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking forward to talking about Minnesota. I mean, here I put up the record. You guys were 16, 10, and 8. You sat 4th in the West. And I feel like you guys have been sort of chugging along in the off season, but let me not, give a preview or what happened. I want to hear kind of from your words, just if you can, in 60 seconds or less. What exactly happened last season with Minnesota United?
Last season, and it was the sophomore year for Eric Ramsey. We kind of had our game plan together. We got our strategy and our tactics together, and ended up just kind of pulling it together with our set pieces. We were the best set piece team in the league. Our defense was the 3rd best in the league, only 39 goals against, and I thought we looked real good. And then the loss of Tanya Oluwase halfway through the season last year kind of led to a downward spiral, but still ended up getting home advantage in the first round of the playoffs. So a good ending to the season, and only to lose to San Diego in the the conference semifinals. So all in all, a good season. We were happy with how the Loons did last year.
Well, and it's crazy because San Diego was on like a crazy run, but as far as and it was surprising they're an expansion team, so I completely get it. But you guys have been kind of busy this season. But before getting busy this season, you guys also had a couple losses in terms of players, right? So if you can, just who are some key departures from Minnesota this season?
Oh man, who weren't the key departures, man?
Yes.
Like our goalkeeper of the year, Dane St. Clair. That was the big loss at first, going to Inter Miami with you guys down there. I'm sure you guys are happy to have him. But then we ended up picking up Drake Callender in his place, which I'm sure we'll cover in a little bit. Yes. Then Robin Lud, a longtime Loon, one of the hearts of our team. He went off to Chicago, so it was. I think he would be one of the people we would put on our MNUFC Mount Rushmore. I think he would. That was a big loss, fair. And Loons fans are gonna be sorry to see him go. And then, of course, Joseph Rosales, the Honduran international. He went down to Austin, which we are playing in Austin this weekend, so we'll see him again. And then the big one, Eric Ramsey, the head coach, went off to West Brom over in England. Which so far not going so hot for him over in England. I don't think he's won a game yet. I could be wrong. Maybe I haven't checked the Premier League or the FA Cup in the last week or so for West Brom. But Eric Ramsey went off to England, back to his home country, and so now we've got our new coach and a couple of new signings.
Well, that's good. I mean, at some point, you also started to make some key additions. And one that's bigger than a lot of other key additions, and probably the biggest one in James Rodriguez. But I guess from your perspective, go over that and some other key additions as well.
I mean, I am real excited about James Rodriguez coming to Minnesota. That's the big signing that Loons fans have been wanting for a long time. I think he brings a lot of talent. He's had a great career with Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Everton, Monaco, and until recently down in León in Mexico. So to have him up in Minnesota is great. Those are all the pros of having James. The con is that it's only a 6-month contract with a year with the rest of this a year option. So we're not sure how the rest of the season is going to turn out after the World Cup is played in the summer. But I love the signing. I think that it's gonna bring a lot of good. A lot of people over to Minnesota to watch the games, and the atmosphere is just going to be great. And then, a couple other ones. I'll give a shout out to Mauricio Gonzalez. We signed him from Deportivo Tolima down in Colombia. I'm excited. He's a youngster, yes. A Colombian down there, only I believe 21 years old, and I'm excited for the future he's going to bring to the team as well.
And I'm pretty sure. And you mentioned Drake Callender as an addition.
That's right.
To replace St. Clair. How does the fan base feel about Rodriguez with a 6-month contract and then Drake Callender replacing Dane St. Clair?
With Drake Callender, I'm happy that we got a goalkeeper of Drake Callender's caliber to replace Dane St. Clair. I don't think he's quite as good, but Drake Callender has never had Drake Callender has never had a back line like this before to help him out, because when he played in Miami, obviously Miami did very well with Drake Callender in goal, but the defense has always struggled with goals against down in Miami, and of course they did in Charlotte as well. So I think that he's never had a back line like this to help him out, and I think he's going to work very well with that back line. And as for James Rodriguez, obviously the con is that it is only a 6-month contract. He's looking to get some minutes before the World Cup happens here in the U.S. And so it was kind of a win-win situation. We were looking for a striker to replace Tani Oluwaseyi ever since he left last year. And James is a high-profile signing. So I think that there's more pros than cons to this signing, but I think that if he ends up leaving halfway through the season, then that's going to put a little bit of inconsistency in our team in our team tactics, and we'll just have to take things as they are. But I will say this: it is up to the Minnesota fan base to be able to make James feel at home in Minnesota and just cheer him on. Hope he stays for the whole year, and that's the big thing, I think.
Well, and before I bring up the projected starting 11, one of the guys that you guys picked up recently which is Chancalay. I've been watching a lot of New England Revolution football lately, and Chancalay I think is a huge pickup. I think he's going to be super effective for Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Chancalay, I think he got injured last year, so we didn't see a lot of him, but he was signed to a DP contract with New England, so he has to be. One thing I've learned, whether they end up panning out for the DP contract or not, is that when you sign somebody to a DP contract, they have a lot of potential. So there is a lot to be excited about, and whether or not he lives up to that, up to the signing, is up for the season to tell.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring up, I guess, the projected starting 11 that MLS posted up here. They sort of posted it as like a 5-3-2 with Yeboah and Rodriguez up top. Does this seem like it's fairly accurate?
No, I don't think so. I think that I think we're gonna stick with a 4-2-3-1 instead. I think the personnel on the field seems pretty accurate. You've got Marcanic
probably.
The structure is going to change a little bit, I think. Yeah, I think that you've got Marcanic, Romero, Boxall. They're in kind of the same kind of the right places, except you stretch them out a little bit toward the right to be able to fill in the back line of 4. And Bangi Longwane over on the right, he's not going to play right back this year. He's going to be up in attack where he needs to be. So I think we see him up on the right wing instead of the right wing back position. Then you've got Will Trapp and Nectario Triantis and at the defensive midfielder positions. And then Joaquin Pereira is going to be probably going to be in our number 10 position over there. And as for the left wing, that's kind of open, isn't it? I would say maybe you put Pereira on the left, actually, because he had some success there last year, and then James as a kind of attacking midfielder / center forward.
I figured that was going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be more accurate, and it's the system that most of those players are used to as it is. So I think if you put it in more of a 4-2-3-1, that's going to trim down on some transition period and put James in a system that has kind of worked for Minnesota over the past couple of years.
Yeah, and I think the key here is to make sure that they fit the system not around James, but to make him feel as comfortable as possible.
For sure.
And speaking of comfortability and in terms of expectations, if you can just bring somebody up, who do you think is a player that's probably not going to live up to the expectations set for them? I mean, you guys got a couple players and you've had some players that have, been playing pretty solidly for you. Who's somebody that you can see, wow, this guy might not meet the expectations?
If I had to pick somebody on the starting lineup, my money for that has got to be Kelvin Yeboah. He came on to Minnesota a year and a half ago, halfway through the 2024 season, and just lit it up. Had a great last half of the season and scored a lot of goals. But then the spotlight was stolen by Tani Oluwase through the first half of last season, and Yeboah was never really able to fill in for that. And even after Oluwase went to Villarreal, I think that Yeboah stepped in and didn't really live up to the expectations we learned about him from the season before. So I think that it's going to be more of the same from Yeboah. I am optimistic that maybe James can unlock some talent on Yeboah's side. We talked about that on Lunacy podcast the other day. But I other than that, I think that everybody else is going to be in a position that they're used to, and they're going to be more solid in that in the form, as long as they play the formation that they're familiar with, I think.
Of course, I think that's going to be, like I said, key for Minnesota. As far as on the other side of that spectrum, who do you think, like, for example, if a casual comes along and watches a Minnesota United game and doesn't really know too much, who's the guy that you kind of tell them, hey, this is the guy that you got to watch out for?
I've got a couple. I would say Joaquin Pereira has really come into his own over the past year and a half, ever since he came to Minnesota. Took a little bit for him to get used to our system, but he's been great. He's been a great playmaker, and he's good on set pieces as well. And I would also say Anthony Markanich. Watch out for Anthony Markanich, because he can be an attacking left back, and surprisingly scored a lot of goals last year as a defender. He was actually, I think, tied for the most goals among active Minnesota players last year, even as a left back. So watch out for Anthony Markanich. And of course, I mean, you have to watch out for James. I think that James is gonna. I hope he comes in and lights it up. I hope he comes in and just takes Minnesota by storm.
Danny and I talk about it all the time, and I've been telling him for a while that I think James Rodriguez coming to the MLS is going to be phenomenal, and I think it's going to be nothing short of phenomenal, especially for you guys in Minnesota and for the MLS just in general. As far as, like, I guess, expectations, I mean, you guys got some new people, you have big signings. What are, I guess, some expectations that we can be able to kind of reference on? Like, I don't know, where do you guys think you're going to sit? You guys were high up in the table. Do you guys expect trophies? Is it just one trophy? I mean, what's expected? And I guess, do you think you're going to hit those expectations?
I don't know about trophies. I'll be a realist here as the typical Minnesotan, but I think that I think I don't know about trophies. I think that Minnesota will make the playoffs. I don't think the season is going to turn out as well as it did last year or even the year before that.
Yeah.
The prediction that that me and Tony put on Lunacy, we both said that Minnesota would end up in 6th place, and Dave was a little bit more optimistic. He said 4th. He says he thinks that we'll end up in the same spot as last year, but I think we're going to end up, with a little bit more of a transition and rebuilding year, especially with James and a new head coach in Cameron Knowles. So maybe a year where we underperform, but then come back the next year firing on all cylinders.
And one question before I let you go, Connor. This is the Batter Fans Network, and we're Battered fans, right? You follow a team. At points, there's going to be highs, and at points, there's going to be some really low lows. What is a battered moment that you can reference on as a Minnesota fan that just you don't want to think about it more than twice?
Oh, dude, that's an easy one. It's the Western Conference Final from 2020. When it was the COVID year, obviously, and then Minnesota makes the Western Conference Final and goes up 2-0 with 15 minutes left to play against Seattle that year. And then Seattle comes back in the last 15 minutes and just steals the game away. And that was by far, well, I mean, maybe not by far, but a heartbreaking moment as a Loons fan. And being a Minnesotan, we know all about being battered fans up here. We haven't had a championship team up here since the Twins in '91. So to be able to hopefully to bring a trophy here sometime soon is a feel. I don't think it's a feeling that we're quite familiar with for those who are millennials, I think. But I mean, one can only hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And Connor, it's funny. I just want to mention this before I let you go, how you just spoke about earlier, how basically Minnesota, beat Seattle to be able to make it against San Diego. And then now you're referencing Seattle kind of giving you guys the business back in 2020. Cameron is in backstage right now. He's also shaking his head in agreement, listening to what you're saying. So just thought that I'd throw that little nugget out there. Connor, thank you so much for the time tonight. I appreciate you coming on board to talk a little bit of MLS West. If you can let everybody know where they can find you to get more in-depth coverage of Minnesota United.
Yeah, for sure. We are Lunacy Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, any place you can find a podcast. We are there. We are 4 guys that talk Minnesota United soccer, so the Minnesota craft brew scene, and maybe touch on a little bit of Minnesota soccer history and a funny story to top the show off as well. So check us out. And on X, you can find us at LunacyP, LOONACYP.
Awesome. Connor, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. Much appreciated, and we'll catch you down the ways.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot, Chris. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, Connor. And so that finishes it up with Minnesota. And I just want to go ahead and bring this comment up here. Tommy mentioning here, Minnesota equals consistently amazing kits. And Connor is in agreement right now, Tommy, all the way in ATL. I appreciate that. And Minnesota does have pretty good kits. I'm not going to lie. So we jump over from Minnesota, and like I mentioned, we do have Cameron that's in the backstage, and he was also in agreement with some of the stuff that Connor was discussing. Cameron, I'm going to go ahead and bring you on now from the scuttlebutt. What's going on, Cameron? Oh, hold on.
There we go. Immediately airing it up. I had muted myself just in case when I was backstage.
It's all gravy in the Navy. How's it going, Cameron?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? I'm glad to be here with you tonight.
Yeah, man. No, it's fantastic. Listen, I just finished covering the East a little bit ago, and now we're talking West, and it's interesting because I myself, as a fan of a team in the East, don't follow the West as often as I'd like to. So kind of getting this, it helps a lot in terms of getting an understanding. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, over here on the side, I went ahead and I put the record up. You guys were 15, 10, and 9. You sat fifth in the West. And like I mentioned a bit ago, Minnesota ended up beating you guys, I guess, in the playoffs, and moved on to play against San Diego. Let me not do what I'm about to ask you to do. I'll ask you 60 seconds, if you can, of what happened in 2025.
Yeah, 2025 was a really weird year for the Sounders. I think around the league, we were being picked to win the West. It looked like a really interesting year with, people thought that we were going to see some players step up, and there were some big moves with players coming in. And then Paul Arriola gets hurt right at the beginning of the season, and that really kind of derailed us in a lot of ways. And Pedro de la Vega getting hurt at the end of the season did that as well. So I think it was a weird year with a series of injuries at the beginning and the end of the season. But what really changed it for the Sounders, because it looked like they were going to struggle a lot, was the Club World Cup and getting to play PSG and Botafogo and it was Atletico Madrid. Yeah. Which plays into what we'll talk about for this coming year. But we held our own with them and didn't get our butts kicked. And that kind of made the team wake up and went on a big run, and were able to make it into 5th place.
I think that honestly is very respectable in terms of just as an MLS fan to be able to kind of watch teams that went in to Club World Cup and represented at as high of a level as possible, considering the circumstances within what the MLS constrains the teams to follow. So that's something that I do have to commend you guys on for sure.
I mean, it was a lot of fun. I got to go to all 3 games, plus some non-Sounders games, and those were super fun as well, especially the team that came in from Japan. Their fans were incredible. So it was really cool to see. There was one fan that came from Japan who was their rival fan, who came all the way from Japan just to root against them.
That's fantastic. You know, if I was in your shoes, I would have wanted to watch this. I don't know why I'm just starting to say this. I would have wanted to watch Auckland. Auckland just seems like a fun team to watch. Like, I would have loved to get him in the back and interview some of the players. That must have been fantastic. So
goalie, after he let in like 11 goals in one game or something, and he said, "You know what? I'm just happy to be here. This isn't. He was an amateur, right? He was pro-am. This was not a guy who was full-time plays soccer. So yeah, it was incredible for them to be there."
Yeah, it is. It is. We'll save the Auckland FC podcast for another day. That's for sure, because I'm looking forward to that. Let's get back over to Seattle. I want to talk a little bit about some of the key pieces, some of the key things in and outbound in terms of for the Seattle Sounders. Let's start off with some key departures. Who are some players that have departed that are going to make a difference in the team this year?
Yeah, I mean, we lost 1.5 starters, maybe you could say, but one big starter, so it will make a difference with Obed Vargas going to Atletico Madrid for 3 million pounds or euros, excuse me, and that is his favorite team. So for him, like when they played in Seattle and he got to trade jerseys with Griezmann, it was super cool. And so now the fact that he actually got to be sold to them and is getting minutes already, I think he's played in at least 3, maybe 4 games for them in the 6 that he's been there for. So it's been super cool, but that does leave a hole in the midfield where he started most of the games last year. We'll get into what happens with that. We also, another person who played the same position, but also did a little center attacking mid, was Danny Leyva, who went down to Liga MX, and he's at, I can never say it right, Necaxa. Yeah, Necaxa. So he's down there, and he's doing pretty well. And so I think those are the 2 big names, but we had some depth pieces that we lost. John Bell came in quite a bit at center back this last season. He moved on to Austin. And then our 3rd goalkeeper, Jacob Castro, is gone. and
Atencio, I think, as well.
Oh yeah, we traded him at the end of last season. So Atencio is gone. Ryan Kent is not coming back. He did get injured midway through the season and then came back for the end of it, but just never really had the impact he wanted. Plus crocodiles or alligators. He has one of those. He has two of them, but I don't remember which one. I think they're crocodiles are illegal in Washington State, so he couldn't bring them with him. So I'm sure he wanted to move on to somewhere else. And then João Paulo, who is just an incredible player. Who had, I think he was runner-up for the MVP one year early on when he joined the Sounders. He, of course, retired and is now the assistant coach for the minor league team, the Tacoma Defiance. So he's sticking around, but I think Obed Vargas is the big departure. And then it's not a departure, but a change will be Stefan Fry, who is perennially up for goalkeeper of the year, is no longer the starting goalkeeper. He will be the backup this coming season.
And that's interesting that you mentioned that, because I guess that takes me over to key additions, since I believe technically like he re-signed.
Yeah, he did.
But you guys have added some pretty good pieces in terms of versus what you've lost. I mean, at least on paper, it feels like it's better. No?
Yeah, I mean, I think they did a good job. The offseason felt a little more. It felt like, I think it's because maybe it's new names. Last year, it's like people were kind of looking down on the moves because they were within the MLS, right? And so Ferreira, yeah, that is correct. Seattle somehow. We used to always finish second, but lately it's been fourth. Last year we should have finished fourth.
Top four is good.
No, yeah, we'll take it because that means you're hosting the home round of the playoffs,
yes.
The first one. But yeah, I mean, I think they were able to bring in some players from the MLS this time again to make a difference, and that starts with Hassani Dotson coming over from Minnesota, who is a local. He's from Federal Way, just south of Seattle, by Tacoma.
Yeah, and
he's going to fill that spot that Obed Vargas left. And I think they're a different type of player. Obed obviously has a much higher ceiling, but I think the veteran leadership of a player like that is pretty huge to bring him in. And then they also did something pretty cool, which was traded with Charlotte to bring in Nikola Petkovic. So he's on loan right now, but he will be transferred later, assuming he plays okay this year. So it's that's my understanding. So he's a U22 player. They needed some room for players there in Charlotte. So he comes in having played. He was captain of the Serbia, I think U17 team, and he has one start for Serbia's national team against the USA. He started in I think they beat us 3-2, maybe us meaning USA, as a USA fan. But so they brought in a few players. There's some interesting ones though that maybe aren't names that people know. But Max Anchor came over from Vancouver Whitecaps, and he is the third goalie now. He's the young goalie. He'll probably start mostly down at Tacoma Defiance, but he is on the Sounders roster. And he played for, I believe it was Pacific in the Canadian Premier League last year. And he only played 9 games, but was their player of the season. So he may have a big impact there. And then there's some really exciting players that come up from Tacoma Defiance. Yu Sukanome, who's a center forward who has been amazing down at the MLS Next Pro level. We'll see if he can do anything there. And Snyder Brunel, who came up at the end of last year, is, of course, going to be full-time with the Sounders. He's a center defensive mid. So another player that could step up and take Obed Vargas's position.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, like I said, I think that the additions that Seattle's made have been pretty good quietly, and I think that they're going to make a big difference. Now, I'm just going to bring up right here MLS's projected 11, and I mean, I don't know how accurate this has been. It hasn't been too accurate with a lot of teams, but I have to ask, they have it set up as a 4-2-3-1. How accurate is this? Do you think it's going to work out basically the same? Is it a little different?
I mean, this is kind of what we did a lot last year. But that was after we saw the injury to Paul Arriola, who is traditionally a wing back. So I could see us do more 3 center backs and then having 2 wing backs that are on the outside but up higher. And then I think the personnel that's there is largely correct, except for we would see Arriola slot in maybe for Rothrock. And we'll see what happens. Jordan Morris, Schmetzer likes him on the right. He played most of the preseason on the right. He finished up the preseason on the left. Osaze De Rosario, who came on at the end of last season, had an incredible preseason. You know, they were playing teams from Sweden and Louisville City FC, but he had, I think, 4 goals in the last 2 games and maybe 7 or 8 goals in all the games combined. So, and he put on a ton of muscle, and he's a big dude. So we may see him actually starting up top and Jordan playing on the wing a little bit. So they kind of have an embarrassment of wingers again, and that's without Pedro de la Vega. So when he comes back, you know, who do you start where when they can all, you know, Pedro de la Vega, Paul Rothrock re-signing after hitting the free agent market and looked like he might be someone they might pick up. Jesus Ferreira, of course. And then Albert Rusnak can play on the right or in the center. Ferreira can play in the center. And then, and Morris can play on the left and the right. So it's I think it'll depend on who's playing what position on the other team sometimes. They'll look at who's on defense and where can they use speed and run past people and stuff like that.
Well, and that I think is going to be fantastic to watch. Now, this is a question I have that's going to be pretty interesting. Who do you think is a player, or the fan base? Who do you think the fan base looks at and says, this guy might not live up to expectations? And why is it going to be Jesus Ferreira?
Yeah. I personally think he might have a breakout year this year. He will be more comfortable. And with Arriola being back, they were awesome together at the beginning of the season last year. And so I could see him having a breakout year if he can be solidly at one position. And that's the big question is, can he get in there and consistently play at one place? I mean, he was great at center attacking mid, but when you have Albert Rusnak there, the question, who's better in that position? Rusnak, but the drop off might be more on the right. So I think it's Ferreira. Yeah. I mean, I think the fans expected more from him last year. I don't know if that was fair of them, but they expected more based on his past. And I think this will be the year for him to show up and prove it, because he is on a contract where he can earn a DP status if he plays well. If he doesn't, then he'll be where he is. But I think it's a chance for him to show up and earn some money.
Well, and I guess he could fall into the players to watch out for. I guess maybe give me another name that a casual would kind of stroll watching the Seattle team and say, you know what, that's a guy that you got to pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, I think Connor probably knows this from Minnesota. So I'm going Andrew Thomas, the new goalkeeper. A lot of us were clamoring for him to start last year in the third playoff game there in Minnesota. He came in, he subbed in 4 penalties, just before penalties. So I don't think he had even touched the ball. And
he's
he kicked. He ended up missing his penalty, but he injured his hand in that, and still went through and kept playing. And so it'll be really interesting to see what happens, because they are big shoes to fill. I mean, Fry is, I believe, the second most shutouts in MLS history behind Nick Raimondo. So he came over from Toronto after losing his job there because he was hurt, and just became a perennial all-star in Seattle. So it's a big loss. Plus, he's a great dude. I've gotten the chance to be on some, when COVID happened, I was on a committee with him to raise money for local businesses and people who lost their jobs because of COVID around the stadium. And so I got to interact with him a lot, and he's just such a good dude. So it's sad to see that happen, but I think it's Andrew Thomas's time. And, I've got to talking to him a little bit, and he's a great dude. He was born in Russia, but grew up in England and was actually a youth England national team cricket player. So he could be professional in another sport right now.
His story is wild. Yes.
Yeah. But that's who I'm really excited to see. That, and I think Snyder Brunel, 18-year-old center defensive mid. He's a little bit down the pecking order, but we did see some cool stuff from him last season too. So I think that's another name to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. And another part that's going to be interesting is sort of where you line the expectations up, right? Because you guys, like I said, you sat in fifth. Typically, you guys are like the Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, you guys are like the Pittsburgh Steelers of the MLS, always in the playoffs, no matter what happens.
Yeah, we've made it every year but
Well,
one.
yeah,
Of our
and so
existence.
now I'm wondering what's the expectation in terms of, I guess, where you're going to sit in the standings. Are you
Yeah.
guys winning trophies or just one trophy? Like, are you guys going to be humble about this? And do you guys think you'll meet expectations by the fans?
I mean, the expectation, and this isn't just the fans, this is the players. It's to win trophies. And you know, Christian Roldan was on the podcast with not our podcast, the podcast that Landon Donovan and Timmy Howard do, talking about it, and said, "This is what we're here to do: is to win. And if we don't win a trophy, it's considered a failure." You know, traditionally, up until 2023, their average finishing was second place. And so we like the top two, but lately it's been, I think we averaged like top three or top four. That's my expectation is top four.
I'm so over it. I'm so over this Seattle, like just always in the playoffs. I'm so over it. But it's respectable. It's a respectable thing. And to see that you guys are always consistently, always, you know, at least close to the big dance or at the big dance, I think it's fantastic.
You know,
but let's
it's
not
interesting.
make this. Yeah,
I was just going to say it's interesting
Cameron.
because it's the team has a very workmanlike mentality, especially right now. There's not, you know, our quote unquote superstars are older, and so they're not like how they used to be, and so it's very much a team that has to work as a team and work together to win. And we don't have, you know, a big name DP, and so it's just that consistency between our coaching and our players that are getting us there.
Okay, all right, Cameron. That's enough of the positivity and rainbows and sunshines. Let's talk about a battered moment. Okay, that's what I want to hear. I want negative stuff out of Seattle. Give me a battered moment as a Seattle Sounders fan that you've had watching this team.
I mean, there's been a lot over the years.
It all up, by the way.
Yeah, losing to Portland at home in the playoffs multiple times has been painful, and you know, I think. You know, beating Miami in the Leagues Cup final was great and all, but to finish the season in Minnesota, to lose on penalty kicks, to have a game that we should have won, and then just couldn't score, and that's what's happened. Minnesota knew how to prevent the Sounders from scoring, except for in the home game, weirdly, in Seattle, but in the other two games. And for Obed Vargas's final kick for the Sounders to be a missed penalty. Ozzie Alonso had the same fate when he went to Minnesota. You know, it's rough, but and for the final penalty miss to be from Andrew Thomas, and so for him to make some huge saves in that, and then they couldn't bail him out. He had won a penalty shootout before in the U.S. Open Cup where the Seattle kept missing, and he said, you know what? He grabbed the ball and took it himself, and then won. And so that we were hoping for the same thing. And he just was so sad afterwards. So that was an emotional game because you saw Fry's face. That was going to be the last time that he was the Sounders starter. And then Andrew Thomas misses the penalty. Obed misses the penalty. It was painful. So, I mean, that's the most recent one that I think I would go with. There's been other huge ones, you know, to make Connor feel better, getting blown out by Caleb Porter and Columbus in the 2020 MLS Cup final was pretty painful as well. After we beat Minnesota in that game he talked about.
Yeah, that's insane. And before I let you go, Cameron, I just want to mention something because like I mentioned, I don't follow too much West Coast of the MLS. But one thing I've noticed is that Portland is like a thorn on the side for a lot of teams in the history. And that's like, I don't know. I don't find that. I find that a little crazy. But every time I hear people talk about their battered moments, I hear Portland a lot, and I'm like, fucking Portland. Like,
I wonder if, you know, for us, they're our rival, right? It's the next big city down the road. They came into the NASL in 75. We came in 74.
Yeah.
We came into MLS in 2009. They came in 2010. And so, and we played them when we were both minor league teams too, in the USL. So in the USISL. So, you throw records out the window, and really it's the road team that usually wins in those matches.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cameron, thank you so much for joining us tonight and previewing Seattle. Let everybody know where they could be able to find you and everything that you do.
Yeah, check out Sounders of Scuttlebutt podcast. We're on Twitter at SSFC Scuttlebutt, and I'm on Blue Sky at is it legalmindedpunk.bluesky. Whatever is after that. It's Legal Minded Punk. Look me up there. My Twitter's gone. Actually, it was the day of the Leagues Cup final. I got hacked and people logged in on different sides of the world, and I got banned and lost all 2,000, 3,000 of my followers. So I haven't been able to get Twitter to give it back to me. So I'm on Blue Sky. You can find me there.
Yeah, we're gonna riot now. I will make sure to start a riot for you, Cameron.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much for the time, and we'll catch you down the line.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, Cameron, take it easy. And so we're done with Seattle, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna head north, and we're gonna jump over, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the Vancouver Whitecaps, and we're gonna bring on Nathan. Nathan, just in case you're on mute, how's everything going, my friend?
You know what? Things are going pretty well. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty around the fate of the team, especially with everything going on off the pitch. But for the product on the pitch, we're quietly confident. So I don't know. I guess it just depends. If you're at a game, you'll love it. If you're reading the news, you might have some despair.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I want to hear. There's been a lot going on in terms of with Vancouver. I've been watching a little bit more Vancouver recently, as far as some of the movements and things that are happening. But a lot has happened. You guys made it to the finals last year, and if you could just be able to kind of break off in 60 seconds or less a recap, what happened to Vancouver in 2025?
All right, here we go. Made it to the final of every competition that they were in. Got lost 2 of them, but won the Canadian Championship. Broke numerous records, most wins ever for the club, most points ever for the club, best goal difference in MLS, least goals against the club, Defender of the Year winner with Tristan Blackman, also nominated for Coach of the Year, Goalkeeper of the Year, and I want to say Midfield of the Year, but I could be wrong on that. This was a team that most pundits had expected to finish 14th, 15th in the West. They tied for first on points. And I'll tell you right now, even the most ardent Whitecaps fan would not have put them there. I was hoping for playoffs. I think we did okay. The youth development and all the different players that came in, even before Thomas Mueller came into this squad, this was already a team running, and he just made it better.
Yeah. No, and that's something, honestly, you guys were just blowing the doors out last season, and I thought that it was fantastic to watch. But now in the off season, yeah. Now and unfortunately, it ended where you guys, in the MLS Cup, made it all the way, and weren't able to follow through against Inter Miami this year. But I honestly thought that Vancouver, respectfully, was clear and away the best team in the West without a shadow of a doubt. But then, go ahead, Nathan.
It felt, it was one of those things that it felt really, really well, especially because at the beginning of the season, when you're playing MLS or you're playing Champions Cup, every 3-4 days for about 3 months, and they just kept doing so well. And then we ended up having to do it. Sam Adekugbe drops off in the 3rd game of the season. He's out for the entire season. We lose Ryan Gauld halfway through the season, lose Ranko Veselinovic in August. So you start losing all these big pieces, but it's this engine that keeps going. And you did kind of feel like this was a little bit of a team of destiny. Unfortunately, they didn't quite get there, but you can't feel bad about the season. There's no way you can feel
not at
bad.
all. But now there's stuff that has happened in the off season, and you've had some departures, you've had some arrivals. Let's go over the departures first. Who's left the team or who's departed from the team, and why does it matter?
There's been a few. I think the biggest losses on this team all come from the same positions, Ali Ahmed and Jaden Nelson. Both play on the left wing. Nelson left first. He wanted more game time simply because he wanted to get noticed for the Canadian men's national team with the World Cup coming up. I get it. I mean, he came out explosive, but as the season wore on, he was kind of playing backup to Ali Ahmed. Yeah. But then a few weeks later, Ahmed leaves. And now you're starting to wonder, like, this could have been Nelson's spot now, right? Yeah. Ali Ahmed is absolutely lighting it up in the championship in England with Norwich City. So, I mean, you can't fault him. I mean, he got the move he deserved, and we're very, very happy to see him. A little bit bittersweet, but well-deserved. Other than that, Jodrick Poupe, a guy that we brought in August and then spent the entire time that he was here injured. He came on in that Miami match in the final for the last few minutes. That's basically all we saw of him. He's gone back on loan to Belgium. We've loaned a few other players. Giuseppe Bovalina has gone to a team in the second division in Sweden. Who else did we lose? I think that's about it. I mean, the one thing that's really good with this team is they've kept the vast majority of the players there, and the players that we worried about, we weren't too sure if Yohei Takioka was going to renew his contract, things like that. Yeah. They're all here. So, you know, the boys are back. It's just a matter of the players that they brought in the left wing, are they ready to go? And the players that were injured, are they ready?
Well, and let's speak a little bit about the key additions, right? Yeah. Who's been added to the team to sort of help to replenish those, you know, missing pieces? Because you did give up, Vancouver did give up a lot of big pieces that, like you said, I mean, Jaden Nelson, Ali Ahmed, that could have been Jaden Nelson's spot, and it would have been perfect for him, honestly. But then who's been added?
So the big thing with that position on the left is they brought in a couple of guys. One guy, Bruno Caicedo from SC Barcelona, not to be confused with the Spanish club. This is a club, I believe, I want to say out of Ecuador.
Out of Ecuador, yep.
Yeah, they've brought him in on a U22 initiative contract. He's a young kid, really, really kind of up and firing for his club in Ecuador. This was a guy that had a couple of names kind of looking around, kicking the tires from Europe. And honestly, a lot of people that we've heard from Ecuador were surprised that he decided to come up north to Canada, much to our benefit. We're very happy about that. And I think he's going to have a very good home here. The other guy that we brought in for that position is Chuck Salabi. It's been playing in Ligue 1 in France for FC Metz. Metz isn't doing that great right now. I think they're bottom of the league, but he was a part of the team that helped get them promoted with 19 goal contributions in that season last year. He also just won AFCON with Senegal. So, I mean, this is an important piece for his country and his club, and he's decided to move over to the Whitecaps. And he's in his prime, or heading into his prime. I think he's about 26 years old. And this is a guy who has a profile that he can basically play any attacking position there is. I mean, he's been a striker. He's been a 10. He's played both sides. So, I mean, you basically just throw him in and he'll find a home. Other than that, I mean, those are the big additions. They've brought in also was Oliver Larraz from Colorado. Midfielder, young guy, Colorado native. I mean, came up through their academy system. I was talking with a few guys down in Colorado when the move happened, and it was kind of a guy that they were surprised was let go because Whitecaps picked him up on a free. So again, he's kind of brought in to be a little bit of depth, kind of in behind Sebastian Berhalter, Andres Cubas, and be there, impressed during the preseason so far, but we'll have to wait and see exactly how much he's going to be used.
And I mean, Mueller signed he came on last season, but this is the season where he's going to have an entire full season with the squad and under the organization. So that's a key addition, not technically, but sort of in a full season capacity. I'm going to bring up the starting 11, what I guess the MLS is projected Vancouver starting 11 to be. They have it set as if it's a 4-2-3-1 here. I'm asking all the guests because MLS don't know if they've landed it correctly or not. Does this seem pretty accurate? Maybe a couple changes here and there?
They got the formation. There's definitely some changes I would make to the starting lineup. And a lot of it depends on if you had a fully 100% healthy squad. Yeah. So if you had a fully 100% healthy squad, I'm wondering where Ryan Gauld is.
Yeah.
They don't have a captain on there. So I've got to think that they're wondering about the injuries as well, because you would be taking out Kenji Cabrera. Gauld would be on the left up there. Same thing I would say with Tate Johnson. Sam Adekugbe is another guy that we're worried about injuries. If he's healthy, he's going in ahead of Johnson. Johnson was fantastic last year, especially for a guy that was, just out of the draft. 3 months before he started playing games, he was playing college. And then all of a sudden he's got a professional contract and they're telling him, you're the starting left back because our other guy is injured for the entire season. Yeah. He did phenomenal. He picked it up and he just ran with it. He was a very down-to-earth kid. It was really nice to see. Ralph Priso, I think, has done phenomenal in kind of reimagining himself as a center back, but that's Renko Veselinovic's spot when he's there. I mean, it's Veselinovic, I think right now is the longest serving white cap on the club. When he's healthy, him and Blackman are the back line. That's it. There's no question. Those are the main changes I would make to that. The other one you could argue is that Laborda should come in for Ocampo. I would say that's the way it should be, but I mean, Ocampo, he's going from strength to strength and he's growing very, very quickly. As long as he can get a little bit of that maturity that comes with, age, he's going to be a phenomenal player.
Oh, absolutely. And I totally agree with you because I think, and this setup in reality to me is going to be super for the team. I think that honestly, it's going to work out well for you guys, but let's flip it a little bit. Who do you think is a player that might not live up to the expectation that the team or maybe the fan base doesn't have for them?
We brought when the Whitecaps were going through their defensive frailty last year. I mean, at one point we had one healthy center back in the entire squad. We were playing kids at that point. Yeah. We brought in two guys in August. We brought in Jodrick Poupe and Sebastian Schonlau. Poupe gets injured, doesn't get in until the very last game. Schonlau plays 45 minutes of a Whitecaps 2 game in MLS Next Pro, does his Achilles in. We haven't seen him yet. So, what did that tell you? That all of a sudden Priso decided to become a center back, and thank God he did. Yeah. Sebastian Schonlau is the one guy that, even though he came in August, he came in from a very good Hamburg team, helped get Hamburg promoted back to the Bundesliga. I do wonder if he has the knees and the ability to keep up in this league. MLS is a fast league. It's a physical league. And I don't know if he might have gotten to the age where, age gets the best of all of us.
Now, I want to also look at the other side of this. Instead of looking at players that might not fit the bill, who do you think we should watch out for, and why is it Berhalter? Because I feel like Berhalter is gonna have pretty close to probably competing with the most assists, in my opinion, this coming season. But I mean, I'm not gonna poo-poo on it. Who do you think is somebody we should watch out for?
I was telling you that you should be watching Berhalter 4 years ago. Last year was his kind of coming out party for the entire league, but everyone in Vancouver was going, yeah, that's the guy. The only problem with Berhalter was always great, but the problem is nobody knew what his position was, because we used to just call him the Swiss Army knife, because it didn't matter where he'd
be at the right, he'd be in the middle. Yeah.
He'd be right back, or he'd be, playing up on the wing or whatever. So the thing is he was decent, but because he couldn't nail down a starting position, he was always the fall to backup guy. Now he's made that position beside Andres Kubas his own. He plays a little bit forward in front of Kubas, where Kubas kind of sweeps in and does more of the defensive duty. But I mean, Berhalter's not going anyway. He's a guy who they're actually actively trying to renew his contract right now because he's done at the end of the season. And I really, really hope they do, because that would be a very key piece that you don't want to lose. The guy that I'm watching for this year is Ryan Alumi. Ryan Alumi came from the second team, came in kind of at the early bit or midway through the season and started getting minutes, especially after Brian White got injured, and they were kind of trying to figure out who's going to nail down that starting striker position. This is a kid, I think he's just turned 19 in like January, but he's He's quick, he's intelligent, and I think this could be a breakout year for him. It's going to depend, and especially if, I mean, Brian White, he's always great, but he's going to be missing a few games here and there with injuries.
Yes.
I think this is the kid to watch, because he could make the case that you're not worried about bringing in a backup for White. You already have him.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you guys made it all the way to the finals.
Yeah.
You guys competed for trophies and all kinds of great stuff. What is the expectation here? There's only so much until you get to the tippy top. What's the fan base expecting? Do you think that the team's going to match those expectations? What are they predicting?
The one thing is last season we were only in 3 competitions. This year we're in 4 because we've now come back into Leagues Cup. The extra amount of time that kind of takes in terms of game time, they played every single game they could have possibly played last year by making it to all those finals. On top of that, with Vancouver being a host city for the World Cup, they're basically being kicked out of BC Place for, I don't even know how many matches it is before, because they got to put in grass, and that grass has to have time to bed. So I think for about 6 or 7 games before the World Cup, they're basically on this giant road trip. And then afterwards as well, on top of that, with the whole situation going on with BC Place, there are certain games in competitions where we already know that they're going to be kicked out of the building and they got to go find somewhere else to play. So there's so many disruptions to this season that we already know are coming that it's kind of difficult to pinpoint exactly where they're going to finish. My hope is that they're back in the playoffs. I want this to be a top 4 in the West team, and I think they have the ability to do that. There's a lot of obstacles in the way, but I think they have a coaching staff that is very, very pragmatic in how they approach the games, but very, very exciting in kind of the product they put on the pitch. And I think that kind of goes up into the team of this next man up mentality. I think last year the Whitecaps were the team that used more players than any other team in MLS, and I don't think that's going to change this year. I think it's going to be the same.
And I think that's a good thing, right? And then as long as you have the players that can contribute, I think that's where it matters. Now, let's talk about battered moments. This is the Batter Fans Network. Is there a battered moment that you could reference on for Vancouver in the history that you've been watching them? Say that moment, I don't want to think about more than once.
Well, we've got a lot of off the pitch moments, and we're going through it right now. But I got to say that Champions Cup final was tough to watch. They've been flying so hard, and then to get absolutely shell shocked by Cruz Azul in Mexico, 5-0.
Yeah.
Talking to the players after the game, it's just, they had no words. Absolutely defeated. On top of that, then we find out they're dealing with the food poisoning and everything that's going on with that. After that game, the MLS, when they published their injury list, the Whitecaps was 18 players long. I don't think I've ever seen an injury list that long before.
At least not since COVID, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's one that's going to live long in their minds. We were talking with Brian White actually earlier today, because they're in Costa Rica right now. They got their first match tomorrow in Champions Cup, and they kind of got a bit of a chip on their shoulder. They have that memory of what happened last year, and they want to kind of exercise that demon in any way they can.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, Nathan, thank you so much for jumping on late this night.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate you taking the time. Let everybody know where they could be able to find your stuff at, Nathan.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm part of the Terminal City FC podcast. You can find us in all the places you find your podcast. Terminal City FC, also on Twitter, Blue Sky, all those. I'm at Enduric on both of those organizations too. I also write for the Area 51 Sports Network. So all of our soccer, football coverage on everything going on in Vancouver and BC, also the men and women's national teams for Canada. And it's going to be a busy year, fun year.
Absolutely. Nathan, thank you so much for jumping on. Much appreciated. And we'll link up soon.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Have a good one.
All right, brother. Until next time. All right, so that finishes it up with Vancouver. Now we're going to go down south and a little to the west. and we're going to take our talents down to Los Angeles. And we're going to talk to our boy, Ivan, the creator. Ivan, what's going on, brother?
What's up, man? How you doing? Good show, man. I've been listening. I'm watching the game right now, the LAFC Real España, the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
It's crazy. You guys, last time I checked, you guys were winning 2-0, no?
It's 5-1 right now. So that's why I was like, get me on early. It's a massacre.
Oh, that's amazing, dude. That's great stuff. I can't wait. I'm gonna catch the highlights when I finish up with this. But let's get to it. Well, we could do it. We got right here. I posted it up. We got the record. You guys went 17-9-8 last season. You guys finished third in the West. And in terms of like the playoffs are concerned, you made it. Played against Austin, beat them, and then you made it against Vancouver, who was just on here, and then lost against them. I guess that just gives a summary of what happened in the playoffs, but go ahead and give us like a 60-second recap of what happened with LAFC in 2025.
I think you can relate as a Miami fan. Is Sun happened. That's pretty much everything that the season was, right? So the magnetism that he has with everything, it's just, which in a lot of ways helped LAFC because they're just they're a team that doesn't play with a chip on their shoulder. They're a team that doesn't care, like if they win or lose, which can be good. It's a very much like German style. Like you always play the same, right? So I think that's something like if you recap the season last year, that's what it is. But I think what I don't know, what do people like to know about these kind of teams? Because personally, I can give like two fucks about the players. Like, give me the content, give me like the drama. You know what I mean? So like, that's what I like to follow. Maybe I'm just more chismoso on that side, but like last year we had a left back that was allegedly saying the N-word to one of the players. Sorry, it was our right back. And his name was Sergi, and we coined him Slurgy, like the slur. So that was something that was interesting that happened last year. I think a couple of good things that I've also seen is we also have two former LA Galaxy players that are playing with the LAFC. So like it's becoming a trend where like they're not wanting to go with their rival. So that's like a good storyline too. And I think the biggest storyline,
really
bro,
cool.
it's a lot of Koreans everywhere. Like I have something I've never seen before. Like that's something, it's very cool for the league, but also when you go to the stadium, it just brings a different vibe. Like I'm not used to it. I'm used to like Latin American and the Mexican.
Yeah, of course.
Right? They
very
bring a different
loud
vibe. The alcohol, but they're very family oriented. So you see a lot of like grandparents with their parents and the grandchildren come to games with their Korean and LAFC jersey. So I think that's really cool for the league and just being around it. Like you always want culture in your stadium.
I think it's such a beautiful thing to have that sort of experience because what you hope for out of all of this with Messi and Son is that 10% of that fan base stays here after Son and Messi leave the league. Like that is a win. Anything more than that is just the cherry on top. So at least that's just my opinion. But I want to jump over to what's been happening in the off season because you guys have had some arrivals and some departures. I want to kind of go over what are some of the players or just anybody in general that have departed from LAFC this past season.
I would say, just to summarize it, nobody left. Like players left that probably were gone anyways, just because they had short-term contracts. And but potentially, like maybe one or two of those could have been part of the team. One was an Irish team. I forget his name actually, but he was very good player. But again, I'm sure you deal with this with Miami too, where like just couldn't afford him, like the salary cap, the situation. So he was one of the players I think probably could have gave us more, but he didn't give us anything. So it's like I don't know what we lost, in that sense.
Yeah, who cares?
So when I say we didn't lose anything, it's pretty much we didn't lose anything as a team. Maybe you can say that. Excuse me, like we lost a little bit of youth. I think the players that are coming in or they're in now, a little bit older, right? You got Boanga coming in, like I think it's his 5th year now with LAFC, and or 4th year, 5 year. A lot of our players are older, so I think this is like the last hurrah with this
Yeah.
team. Like obviously they can still play, so I think the youth has left this team. So like this is sort of um, the last dance with most of these players, like Lloris. I mean, obviously goalies can go forever, but
Yeah,
who
they
knows,
can.
right? So yeah, I think to sum it up, I'm not going to give you specific players, but that's the youth left us. Players that potentially could have given us something, but you just don't know. It's MLS. And I
Yeah.
think the big loss was Igor Jesus, which he got injured anyways. So he's not. He's still with the team, but who knows when he's going to be back? He tore his ACL.
Well, and Cherundolo is a head coach that I thought I don't know.
Oh
A
yeah,
lot of people
I
are
forgot
hot
about
and
him.
cold about him. I wish he would have stayed, but that's I guess neither here nor there. I want to bring up key additions and ask you who you guys added. I mean, there's a couple pieces that you guys got, and Sun technically is not a key, is not a new addition, but it's going to be his first full season, so that's going to be something cool to experience. Anybody else that's been added on?
No, I think again, like it's almost the same team. The only player that I'd say like you're gonna hear a lot of is Ostakio from he's a Canadian national team player. Well, he's Portuguese, but he plays for Canada, and
Yeah,
he's a center defensive midfielder. I know him because he played in Mexico and he was playing in Porto with in Portugal. So he has great coaches, great team. I was actually watching him today, and he's like a star. He's one of those players I know we can't keep because he's probably a DP level pay wise. So he's
yeah,
on loan here for 6 months, but he's somebody that I can definitely say like a key addition. Obviously, a couple new U22s, like who cares? In my opinion, that's just a waste of a spot in
and
general
you
in
got
MLS. But
Schaffelberg, so that's a decent addition.
I mean, I guess for the level of MLS, he's like
He's
upper
okay.
echelon. Yeah, he's okay. He's okay, right?
Yeah,
But for LAFC, like that didn't move me. Plus, he came with an injury, so he's going to be out for like 4 months. So that's something like
yeah,
I don't know. It's just a weird signing. Tyler Boyd, which again he was a LA Galaxy player. Now he's playing with LAFC. He was at Nashville. He's like a good depth piece because it's like somebody that knows the league, and we brought him on essentially a free. He's on the very cheap like side of things.
yeah,
LAFC is really good at building that, and I think I talk a lot of crap about this team, but if I would give them something, like they know how to build the benches. So if
yeah.
you're going to play a
And
long
that depth.
season, you're going to have to face certain
Well,
you need rotation.
no, absolutely. You need the depth. Now, I'm going to put up the starting 11 that the MLS has projected. They put it down as like a 4-2 3-1, I guess. So 4-3-3. And does it seem fairly accurate as far as who they
Yeah,
got, where they got them?
yeah. Even today's lineup, the only difference was Hollingshead, um, which you're going to get that rotation right, but this is probably going to
Yeah,
be Saturday's lineup. Depending with the travel with Honduras, who knows, right? But I know we're playing
yeah,
Miami, so this is probably going to be the lineup for Saturday.
yeah,
And also like I think most of these players too are going to get um, it's MLS. This is how they do it, right? They're going to run, or at least LAFC, they run this lineup to the ground. It's the same team you're going to see
yeah,
every single time. It is what it is. But I think there's a couple players on the bench that probably can switch. But yeah, 4-3-3. If that's sort of what everybody uses, right, in the
yeah.
Foot Mob and Google.
Just
But it's
in
probably
different
yeah.
creative
It's probably gonna
ways,
be
I
like
guess.
3-4 something, right? It's gonna be three center backs, which Ostakio is sort of like a center back, center defensive midfielder, and then whatever happens up there happens. But the defense in LAFC is probably like the weakest point, like any MLS team, I would say. And the strongest right now is the midfield. You along with Sun, but the midfield right now is super solid, which I've never seen an LAFC team with a solid midfield.
Well, it's definitely going to be great to see over the season, especially with Son. But who do you think is a player that's probably not going to live up to the expectations?
That's a good question. Tillman, 100% is Tillman because he's a U.S. national team player, and that's a player
Yeah,
that the league always is pushing. The talking heads are always pushing. I don't
thousand
see it
percent.
with
Yes.
him. I'm sure you have players like that, but I don't see it in him. He's also like let us down a lot in key moments. So at this point, it's sort of like not a healthy relationship that we have with him. And LAFC fans,
Yeah.
it's rough. Like if you're not performing,
Then you
I
got to
remember
get
when
out of here.
you got to get out of
Yeah.
here, and the ownership will get you out of here. So it doesn't matter like national team status, this and that. Obviously, I hear a lot that he has the quality. Obviously, he played in Germany, but I don't like him in this team. Maybe if he does leave with another MLS team, like he definitely could be a starter, maybe even like a TAM plus player, but he's the one that's going to disappoint a lot of players. I also think that I think Lloris disappoints. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
Oof.
big name, big, he does big things in certain matches, but every now and again you see his age. So it's like, as a goalie,
Yeah.
you
It's
can't
tough to
have,
watch.
it's like tough. Yeah, like the margins are so thin. It sucks to say. In my like opinion, this is probably like a very minority side of LAFC that will say that. But I think just because I've seen him in some lapses where like, it's interesting. Overall, great with his
Yeah.
feet. If you're playing like a very touchy like ball, like yeah, that he's good for that.
Well, and who's a player that I guess we could watch out for? I mean, we know Bawanga, we know Sun, but like if I'm a casual fan and I'm just strolling through an LAFC game or this Saturday, and I'm like, I want to see who else is good, and you're like, that guy, he's not Sun or Bawanga, but you got to watch out for that guy.
He's Martinez. David Martinez. If you like soccer, if you like magic, he's Venezuelan. If you like, I don't know. When I was growing up, like Ronaldinho was like the god, right? And
Ooh,
then
super
Messi came
creative.
along.
Yeah.
Yeah, creative. Like you see him, it's like, oh man, I want him to have the ball. Like
Flashy.
I want him to, and like just the way he moves his hips and like you know how when you were a kid, you always want to curl that like thing. It's so hard
Oh,
to
of
do.
course. Yeah, yeah.
That's him, right? His, I think, ability to, he probably, I've seen a lot of players in MLS has a like top percentile ability with the ball.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
he's U22. He's with Venezuela. He's also like kind of like a interesting character too. He gets very upset at times, and you'll see it. So he does a lot of tantrums, and I personally love that. Like I want players to give me that like emotion, right?
Yes.
It's, as a Latin American, you'll see it, a lot. But
Yes.
he's
No,
gonna
I love
give you
that.
that flair. So if you want like somebody like Sun is gonna give you what Sun does. Buongo, we already know him. He's gonna be like, if he doesn't leave in this summer, I'd be surprised. Like a big team is gonna pick him up.
Yeah, I believe the same thing. I think that that's definitely going to be something down the pike. Now, as far as expectations are concerned, right? I'm pretty sure that you guys have a pretty high expectation. LAFC was sitting in third place, got bounced in the conference semifinals in the MLS Cup.
That's a good game
But
too.
yeah, but now there's high expectations, right? I mean, what seed are you guys thinking about sitting around? What trophy or trophies are you guys, talking about wanting to win? Do you think you guys are going to meet those expectations?
No, I'm negative, but I think just because they brought this coach that was like sort of the assistant of Dolo, but also like a co-manager. I don't know. It was weird,
Yeah,
and I think that when you have a big team, you need to like when you have big personalities, you need to have like a coach that can handle it. I also
for
think
sure.
that um, it just depends on what LAFC does. They love to release players to make money off of them. So I
Yeah.
don't doubt them. Like, and I think it's a unique team that does that in the league because most teams are like just fleshing out like they're like I don't know. I see like Austin and a lot of these teams that they just take L's on players. Like, fuck it, I'm just gonna pay his contract out. Like he's worthless for us, and like
Yeah.
Chucky and stuff like that, right? But at LAFC, like if they see the moment where they can sell him, they're gonna sell him. So like I see Boanga getting sold. I can see Martinez getting sold. Obviously, they can bring in a good like depth, right? But it's never the same when they don't start the season. Now, if they don't do that, I think the expectation for us is they have to win at least 2 trophies this season, which is Leagues Cup, MLS
Okay.
Cup, and they have to win Champions Cup. And in my opinion, if they don't win Champions Cup, I don't know what they're doing with this coach, because at the end of the day, like if you're not winning, like
You need to
great
win now.
camaraderie. Yeah, you need to win that. And with Son, it's like a finite time. I'm sure with Messi as well. Like if you don't
Yeah.
win within his tenure here, it's a complete failure of a signing. You're selling jerseys, the families, the Korean families, right? Coming in, whatever,
Yeah.
revenue. But if you don't get that thing, then it's pretty much
Then
to
you're
me
just a shirt
failure,
company.
right?
Yeah,
You're an apparel
absolutely.
company for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in LA,
Now
it's
let
the $200 jerseys or anywhere now.
yeah, no, absolutely, dude. I mean, I want to talk about battered moments. We're gonna finish it off with this. Ivan, what is a battered moment that you've gone through as an LAFC fan? Something you don't want to remember more than once.
Finals loss. I think when we lost against you guys last year, the Champions Cup, we went away. We were up 3-1, I think. And
Yeah.
you know, and the biggest one was last Vancouver match where we had a free kick from Son. That was like a magical moment where you're like, this is gonna be a run, and then they just like
Yes.
splooted everywhere, like they shot their pants. And then they had Son miss a penalty, right, and that in the penalty shootout. So that to me was like encompasses what LAFC is. They're gonna be there. They're gonna be at the big dance, but they're not gonna fuck, you know. So I think like that's the biggest thing with LAFC, and that's what hurts being a fan of this team. But I guess it's better than not making it. But to me, it's like sometimes
Yeah.
I'd rather you not make it for you to like shit your pants.
Well,
But
that's
like the
I
batter.
think yeah, that's for sure a better moment. Ivan, thank you so much for coming on, especially watching the game like at the same time. I appreciate you coming on and
6-1
taking the
right now.
time to hang out with us. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness,
no,
what
you
a
guys are great,
disaster.
man. You guys are great,
I
and let me know if you
appreciate
need me
it.
to post anything and repost it, and I'll share it to my Twitter
Well,
timeline
let
is
everybody know
insane.
where they can find your stuff.
Twitter or X, Ivan the Creator. If you like rage bait, if you like spicy drama and just like talking shit, I'm there. Obviously, I try not to cross the line with anything, but it's if it makes me laugh, I'm gonna post it. So that's sort of like, and
Listen,
if you speak Spanish
we'll
a lot too, like I guess that helps.
we'll sit there like chismosos together, Ivan.
I know we need to do like a whole episode of just Chisme, because like there's so much good stuff that happens and nobody covers it. It's like, cool, I understand that player is a left wing, sometimes he plays as a striker. Boring. Like what is he like
Yeah.
as a person? You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I guess we'll get that
All
someday,
right.
maybe, but I'll poke around.
Yeah, no, we will.
All right,
We will,
peace.
dude. All right. Later, Ivan. Much appreciated for
Thank you.
coming on. All right. All right. So we got done with LA, and we still have one more surprise guest, guys. Now, for this episode, obviously, we're talking about the best in the West. So we're going top shelf. We're leaving top shelf, and we're going down to the bottom of the barrel. I got my phone. I'm making a collect call. I got to call 281-330-8004. And we're heading down to Houston, baby. I'm going to bring on my boy Joe from Bayou City Soccer. What's going on, Joe? How's it going?
Hey, it's going good, man. What's up?
Everything good, brother. Much appreciated, and thank you for joining me on tonight. I appreciate you taking the time, brother. So let's get started. So on the side, we got here the record that's posted is 9 wins, 10 draws, 15 losses. You guys sat 12th in the West.
Bad.
I felt like it was a weird season because I felt like I saw some success at times, but I mean, you'll do it better than I can. Go ahead, and if you can, just give me like 60 seconds worth of a recap of what happened in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, so 2024 was the best regular season the team's ever had, and it came off. You know, when you win a lot of games, you know, Miami fans, you guys know this too. Like, people want your good players. So we ended up having to sell some of our best players. Coco Carrasquilla went to Mexico. Hector Herrera, they didn't want to pay him what he was paying, so they let him go at the end of his contract. They lost Mikael, who you guys got now in Miami, who's, in my opinion, a top 5 center back in MLS. And they lost him a week before the season to Brazil, and that just started the disaster, because as soon as Mikael left, then we had Ethan Bartlow and Eric Sviatchenko were only center backs. Sviatchenko then gets hurt, so then we're playing some kid Obafemi Awadesu, who's only played in Next Pro, and it just spiraled from there. The start of the season was bad. The Miami killed us. I think it was game 2, and then it just went from bad to worse. It never recovered from there.
That's tough, man, because like I said, I felt like at times you guys really had things cooking at some points, but then it just like it fell out like quickly. I mean, as far as like departures and additions, I guess we'll go over the key departures. Who's left of the team, and why does it make a difference?
Okay, so they let go of a lot of players, a lot of turnover this year. Two of the big ones were the 2 attacking midfielders, especially Kowalczyk and Amin Bassi. They're 2 players. They're 10s in this league that are MLS quality, but neither of them have that like special sauce you want from the 10. Bassi was putting up some of the best progressive pass and chance creating numbers in the league, but provides 0 goal scoring threat, so he never really got over that hump of being a great player. And Kowalczyk was one of those really solid pressing 10s that just never really got anything better than that. And then other departures, man, we lost all of our depth center backs we got rid of. So out went Femi Awadesu, out went Ethan Bartlow, and then Franco Escobar left. He was a starting fullback for a few years. He had a lot of injuries last year, pretty inconsistent play. And then the big sales happened right at the start of the offseason and today. It was Brooklyn Reigns went to New England.
Yes.
It was a huge transfer. I think it was fantastic business from the Dynamo, because Brooklyn Reigns ended up starting last year a lot out of necessity, not for the fact that he was really good, because they were in a position where they started the year with Jack McGlynn and Artur as the double pivot as the 6s.
Yeah.
And when the center backs were as awful as they were, they couldn't really have McGlynn in midfield, so they pushed McGlynn into a more of an attacking midfield spot and brought Brooklyn Reigns back into as a second 6. So he's more of a defensive player than Jack McGlynn is, and he had a very meh season as a 19-year-old. And New England comes knocking for almost $2 million. You kind of can't say no to that.
No way. Now, I mean, what about the additions? You guys have added some pieces here. So I feel like you guys are kind of moving in the right direction in terms of additions as well.
Yeah. I mean, the additions have been fantastic. And you've seen them in preseason. They've been really, really good. We brought in Augustin Bozat, defensive midfielder. He's going to be the starting 6 for a while because Artur's got a pretty major injury. So he's going to be starting in midfield alongside Jack McGlynn. Lucas Halter, they brought in from Brazil. He was a starting center back in Brazil for a few years, 25, played a ton of experience in the top flight of Brazil. He's going to be starting at both center back and both likely at left back. He's probably going to start left back this week. And then Felipe Andrade, who's actually probably going to be one of the starting fullbacks, but he's hurt right now too. He was fantastic last year. He's a permanent signing now. Young defender, plays both center back, left back, and right back. Great versatile player. And then the two big ones, or the 3 big ones, really, the 2 DPs, and then Hector Herrera comes back on a free transfer. I mean, we love Hector. He's probably not going to play a ton. He's old. He didn't get a ton of minutes in Toluca. But anyway, it's just another leader to have in the field. It's another option. He's a little more defensive than McGlynn if we need that look. Coaching staff loves him. The team's going to love him. And then the 2 DPs. We brought in Guilherme. He's a winger from Santos. He was playing opposite of Neymar on the other flank for Santos last year. Scored a ton of goals. We've already seen him. He scored a hat trick the other day in preseason. He looks like a fantastic player. And then the one that MLS fans all does, Matheus Bogusz. He's fantastic. He was one of LAFC's best players the other season. Goes to Mexico, has a little bit of trouble with Cruz Azul, who's a very good team to break into, and he's back. He's ready to cook in MLS again.
Well, I feel like you guys are making not just additions, but you guys are making quality additions. And I'm going to bring up the projected starting 11 that the MLS put on their social media. It's been inaccurate for some teams, even more inaccurate for others. They posted it up as like a 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1.
It's weird. So that's kind of how they play when they're in possession. But they don't really start in that shape. They start in more of a 4-2-3-1. So the left center back there, Halter, he really plays left back, and then Griffin Dorsey on the right wing back there plays right back, and then Nally's more of a, and then it's more of like the two midfielders, and then the attacking midfield three is a Nally, Guilherme, and Bogus behind Ponce. It's definitely now the time, but Griffin Dorsey just got traded to Orlando this morning.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
So he's not starting for sure.
That's another departure that's been crazy, because I just had someone from Orlando on earlier today. As a matter of fact, he's actually chiming in the chat. A shout out to John Rollins, Chris putting in that overtime. I'm trying, baby. I just punch in and punch out.
Hell yeah.
He, John is from the Loud and Proud podcast for Orlando, so they're pretty happy about the move with Dorsey going over there, and I'm sure it's not a move that you guys enjoy particularly.
Oh, I'm actually pretty excited about that. That's a ridiculous sum of money to get for Griffin Dorsey. So let me tell you about Griffin Dorsey. Griffin Dorsey came to the team back in 2021 from Toronto for completely free. He was a nothing player. He broke into the team. He played really well on the right wing. And then the next coaching staff came in, and they kind of just wanted to drop him again. They brought in another right back guy. I don't remember the guy's name. Some guy who was terrible from Brazil came in, and Griffin Dorsey won the spot at right back. Next year, new coaching staff again with Ben Olsen. He had no interest in playing him, and then he eventually breaks in, pushes Franco Escobar to the left, and comes back in the right back. The end of 2023, I honestly want to say that was one of the best half of a seasons I've ever seen a fullback play in MLS in my entire life. Like you saw in the Open Cup final, Dorsey scored that winning goal there. He was unbelievable second half of that season. 2024 comes, huge downturn. He was not that great in 2024. Pretty much a lot of what he's good at is he's really good at just bombing down the wing and putting in a cross. That's all he does. He's very limited. And he wasn't able to do that well in 2024. And then 2025 comes in, and it got even worse, like to a point where I don't think he's a starter in this league anymore.
Oh my goodness. Well, there you go, John. And Mike V is in the chat saying, Franco Negri, yes, I wish we had brought him back. He's speaking in terms of Inter Miami.
Miami.
I think that's a solid piece that you guys. Yeah, I think
it's a good signing. He's got a green card, so he's not taking up an international slot, and they got him on a senior minimum contract, so he's on a supplemental roster spot, so he's not really affecting the cap at all either. So it's a good little death piece.
Who do you think is not going to live up to the expectations?
Not going to live up to the expectations. My answer today before would have been Dorsey, but
because I'm sure that there's, in the fan base's opinion, everybody looks at the team and they're expecting high performance from one player. They're not expecting much from another. Like, who's a guy that you're looking at and you're like, that guy, I don't think he's gonna fit the bill this year.
I'm gonna go with Lawrence Anali. He's the starting left winger for us. He's really fast. One of the fastest players in MLS. He came off a torn ACL last season for the second half of the year and played pretty well coming back into the team, given how poor the team as a whole played. And now he's kind of stepping into that full-time starter on the left wing. And I just don't know. I never saw him as a starting player. I think he's one of those wingers you bring off the bench, brings a bit of pace and directness. And you saw like against LAFC in the first week he signed for us, he comes off the bench and scores, just bursts past the entire team and scores this really nice goal. I think that's the type of players. I don't know if I expect him to be a good full-time starter. I wouldn't be surprised if come the summer they look to replace him.
Well, those kind of players just seem very streaky. So I can kind of understand what you mean by that. Let's flip the script though. Who do you think is a player that if a casual watches Houston Dynamo, you're like, you need to watch out for that guy?
It's got to be Jack McGlynn. Jack McGlynn, United States men's national team fans know him. Philadelphia fans know him. A lot of MLS fans know him. Young midfielder, absolute wand of a left foot. It's like in terms of like set piece play, it's like Brad Davis coming back from the old Dynamo days with his left foot on the corners. Set pieces are going to be a huge part of the team this year. Like we got some big bodies in the box. McGlynn bringing in those outswingers on the right side. He's just a magical player. He's long balls, these diagonal balls. He's a player who's not afraid to shoot from outside the box, free kicks, everything you want from a playmaking midfielder is what you get with Jack McGlynn. He's only 21 years old still.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be. I loved Jack McGlynn before he got there, and then when he got there, I thought he was making a hell of an impact. And I think now that he's going to be able to have, I believe, a full season to work with, it's going to be fantastic for the Houston Dynamo.
And he's back in midfield now too. So he's playing more of a forward role last year, so he gets to be back in his favorite position now.
Now, in terms of like the expectations, right? Because you guys, like I had mentioned earlier, you guys were sitting pretty low in the West. You were at 12th. Some inconsistencies throughout the season. What are the expectations this season? I guess any prediction of where you think you're going to sit, and not only that, but like, you know, I don't know how high the expectations are, but from what I saw, there's only a couple of the experts that are believing that you guys are going to be above the 7th seed, maybe like 3 or 4 of the experts. Where do you think you guys are going to be sitting this season?
I think a lot of the experts that are saying we're going to finish on like the bottom. Like there's people giving us like 15th and 14th. If you think we're worse than Kansas City and St. Louis, I think you need to rethink yourself a bit. That's a little nuts. This team's such a wild card. There's just so many new players. I think they might start off pretty slow and might take a little while to gel all these new players together. But man, if all these players come together and play at their best, they could really finish anywhere from 9th to 3rd. I have no idea. It's if Bogus is LAFC Bogus, they could be one of the top teams. Who knows? If he's Cruz Azul Bogus and he doesn't really play up to that potential, we could struggle. You know how much could we get Zico Ponce involved in scoring? He didn't get a lot of chances last year. When he gets them, he scores them. But you got to create. Yeah. So I'm gonna say they finish in the playoffs. That's what be my prediction.
I could definitely see that, and I think Houston, with the additions that they've made, I definitely think that they're going to be higher than 14th and 15th. I do see them. I mean, it's drastic, but I see them moving a little bit 8th, 9th, 10th area. Possibility of getting higher. It just depends on how things fare out in the West. So I think a little bit more respect has to be put on Houston. But just to finish off, cap the show off, again, like I mentioned with other guests, we're the Battered Fans Network, and we like to talk about how battered fans, fans are battered when they've seen their team lose in critical moments, lose big games, memories that they don't want to think more than once about. What's a battered moment that you can be able to kind of share with us in Houston Dynamo history?
God, there's a few. I mean, there's definitely the two cup final losses in 11 and 12. I'm going to go a little more recent. I'm going to go 2022. We were kind of struggling as a team in general, but Hector Herrera's coming in the summer to save us. Hector Herrera comes in. He's kind of okay for a few games, or again, it's a few draws in there, and then we go to Philadelphia. I think it was Hector Herrera's first start, and we get battered 6-0. Jack McGlynn scored a free kick. Quinn Sullivan got like his first goal for Philadelphia. They just absolutely tore us. Alejandro Bedoya had like 4 assists in that game or something insane. It was awful. That was one of the lowest moments for the franchise for me.
And it's crazy to watch because like Philadelphia is so good and they just do like bare minimum and it's so annoying to watch. But this Philadelphia Unions team in the MLS. So
I love Philly. I absolutely love that club.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. But Joe, I definitely appreciate you coming on this late at night. Thank you so much for joining us to finish off the Western preview, because you are the last preview that we've had.
All right.
So thank you for coming on. Let everybody know where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, of course. And thanks for having me. You can find us at Bayou City Soccer. We do all sorts of write-ups for the team. Like today we had 3 most important players to watch, like 3 breakout players to watch. We do ratings for every game. And then we also have weekly podcast as well. Every Monday, we actually have 2 podcasts this week. We had our normal Monday one, and then tomorrow night we are doing just a big MLS roundtable predictions as well. So yeah, nice. Bayou City Soccer on all social medias, and then biocitysoccer.net is our website.
Awesome, Joe. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for coming on. And guys, if you want, check out Bayou City Soccer for all the content that you need for Houston Dynamo. More in depth. This was just 15 minutes just to kind of get a quick view of it. Again, Joe, thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate everything.
Of course. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Take it easy. Until next time.
Night, man.
Well, guys, that basically wraps it up. Again, like I mentioned, that wraps it up for the West Coast. We're gone. We're going to finish up tomorrow, guys, with the East Coast, and myself or Danny will be doing that one. So that's going to be fun, finishing up with the top teams in the East. So don't forget to put on your notifications bell for notifications. Guys, for those of you in the chat, you guys are the effing best. Sticking around here for 2 episodes. We've already gotten 5 down, and the 6th is tomorrow. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. For those of you listening on audio, thank you so much as well. Please leave 5 stars. And for those of you live in the chat, thank you guys so much for sticking around for 2-3 hours tonight. Like and sub. Let your friends know that there's an MLS show going down. And we're trying to grow, baby. Come on. Let your friends know. Like and sub. And guys, don't forget, tomorrow we're going to do one more episode. It's the top of the East. So until the next one, mi gente, have a good one.